Okay, today we'll be learning some grammatical items. Usually we don't have time in our classes while teaching you the prose, poetry and all other things from English. How do we get time to do the grammar? And therefore I chose today to teach you some grammatical items. First of all, I'll show you some items in tense. Now, if I ask you what is tense, then we usually translate it in Assamese and say it is kal. It's kal. So, how many tenses are there? So, you will answer me present, past and future. But you will be astonished to know that in English there are only two tenses, present and past. Now, the question will naturally be in your mind that what about future tense? Is there no future tense? In English exactly, if I want to tell you, then you must know that in English there are only two tenses, present and past. Future cannot be. Why? I tell you. Look at this sentence. I am going to Delhi. I am going to Delhi tomorrow. Now, what is this sentence? What this sentence tells us about? It tells us about a future action that is going to take place. Similarly, we can use in place of I am going, I will go, I shall go, I may go. All these verb phrases refer to one point, that the action is going to take place in future. And therefore, we can say that there are various ways, different ways of expressing a particular future action. And therefore, if we say that by using will, using will or shall, when these two modals are used, we usually say refer to those sentences as future tense, but it's wrong. And therefore, we can say that there are only two tenses in English, present and past. So, when we can say or we can refer to a future action by using all these things, okay, by using present. I will show you another interesting sentence which tells us about a future action, but using past tense. For example, if you went to Guwahati tomorrow, you could come back. Next Friday. Now, look at this sentence. It tells us about a future action. If you went to Guwahati tomorrow, what verb I have used? I have used the past tense of the verb, that is went, but I am referring to a future action. So, if we are going to name a particular sentence which uses will or shall as future tense, then we will have to name a lot of future tenses in English. And therefore, we must restrict ourselves to these two tenses and others as the future tense that in other languages that exists. In English language it doesn't exist. Now each tense has got 4 forms. We will compare 2 forms of present tense today. Now indefinite, which we call simple present. In present tense we call simple present. In past tense we call simple past, and imperfect. Imperfect is also known as progressive or continuous. Okay. Now I give you 2 sentences to compare. I feel much better. I am feeling much better. I am feeling much better now. Now, in these 2 sentences we can use in certain context. I feel much better. Somebody says, how do you feel? I feel much better. Okay. So in the first sentence there is no reference to a particular time, but here only when somebody says you are in, let's say you are in bed and the doctor asks you, how are you feeling now after taking the medicine or after having the injection, how are you feeling now? Then you will say that I am feeling much better now after I took the medicine. And in that case I am feeling much better. Now let me tell you about this verb. Feel is a stative verb. All the stative verbs that we use in our vernacular languages like Assamese, we usually say moi more bhal lagise, moi bhal paisu, like this. But in English they usually restrict themselves to simple present, that is feel. This is called stative verb. The verb is known as stative verb. That means being in a state itself is an action, and therefore stative verb. For example, feel, smell, then you can say believe, suppose. These are some of the verbs. You can see that in these verbs the action is only a state of being. It's a state of being, and they are usually used in simple present forms. That means I do, I plus do, not I plus am plus verb plus ing. This is, so you must be careful when you use this type of verbs, like, love, all these things. So you can say I like fish. You are not going to say I am liking fish. This type of sentence is not acceptable in English. I don't say that the grammar is wrong, but there are 2 things we must remember, that one is acceptability and the other is grammaticality. In order to be correct, or in order to write correct sentences, we have to conform to 2 things. One is grammaticality, the other is acceptability. Whether this sentence is acceptable to a native speaker? No, this sentence is not acceptable to a native speaker. So usually stative verbs are not used in continuous forms as other things. Okay, there are various things, but I showed you these two examples. Now, there are certain things where simple present is used. Simple present is used so that if there is a permanent action, if the action is permanent, for example, which is the action which happens every day. I go to school every day. I go to college every day. I go to church every Sunday, like this. So the action is permanent, permanent action. For permanent action, you will have to use simple present. Number two, the universal truth. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Number three, similarly, you must remember this point, certain future action. Certain future action. If the action is certain, for example, if my journey to a particular destination is fixed beforehand and it is scheduled, it is fixed, then I must say that I or we go to, or we can say we go abroad. We go to, yes, you can say you go to, we go to Mumbai on 19th of May. Here, this means that my journey to Mumbai on 19th May is fixed and it is not going to change. It is not likely to change. Otherwise, if it is not certain, then you will use the continuous form. We are going to Mumbai on or during the next week. We are going to Mumbai, we are going to Delhi, like this, if it is not certain. You can say the Chief Minister inaugurates this particular project, a particular event on 19th November in the evening. So, the program which is fixed, the program which is scheduled, the action which is certain but is going to take place in future, then for those things you will have to use this. And I will add this another point, that is the actions involving sensory organs. You know, sensory organs. Sensory organs are see, hear, smell, taste, etc. These are the actions that involve sensory organs, and for these verbs, for using these verbs, you have to use simple present, not continuous. You cannot say I am seeing, or I am hearing, I am smelling, I am tasting. No. I see the people go out. I see the guests go out. I see the guests go out. Here, mark this word, mark this verb. I have not used ing. I see the guests go out, not going out. Okay. So these are the changes, or these are the certain points that you must see, because what I am telling you is that the acceptability is another factor in addition to the grammaticality. Okay. And also you can add the point I told you earlier, that is the stative verbs. Okay. In these cases, you will have to use the simple present. Okay. The next point that I will show you is the continuous, that is present progressive. In present progressive, you will have to list out only 3 grounds where you will be using continuous form. And they are: number 1, temporary action; number 2, future action; number 3, progressive action. For these 3 cases, for these 3 types of actions, you will use be plus ing, be plus verb plus ing. I am going, I am taking, I am cooking, I am playing, like this. Temporary action: the workmen are repairing the road, the children are playing in the garden. Okay, they are not going to play endlessly, they are going to play, they are playing only for some time, and therefore this is temporary. And future action, as I told you, in case of future action, I showed you that we are going to Delhi next week. My father, my parents are visiting me next week. These are the cases of future action. And progressive action, which is slowly progressing. That is, we are constructing a house. We are constructing a house. The PWD is constructing a new building in our campus. These are progressive actions. So, for these 3 cases, you will use be plus verb ing. Okay. Now, I will show you an interesting difference between 2 things: simple past and present perfect. Now, we will have the difference between these 2 sentences. Now, look at these 2 sentences. I had a cup of tea a few minutes ago. I have taken a cup of tea a few minutes ago. Now, which one you think is correct? Then this one is wrong, and this one is right. Because the simple logic is that in present tense you cannot use a past time. A past time cannot go with the present tense. So, you will have to say, I have taken a cup of tea, which means I have taken a cup of tea just now. So, there is no point of adding a past time. If you want to add a past time, then you will use this sentence. That is, I had a cup of tea a few minutes ago. This is the difference between present perfect and simple past. And remember, English is a very logical language, and when the simple logic behind this sentence is that in present tense you cannot add a past time, and therefore be careful of such sentences. Often we make these mistakes. I have taken a cup of tea a few minutes ago. I have seen this movie last Saturday, like this. These sentences you should avoid. Thank you.